From Korea to America, Jungkook's name is always mentioned. This is shocking data. Jungkook's name is no longer just heard on South Korean music stages. It has transformed into a global echo that has repeatedly appeared in different parts of the world, from Seoul to New York, from Tokyo to Los Angeles. Surprisingly, this phenomenon is not only evidenced by fan cheers or trending on social media, but also by concrete data that slowly reveals one reality. Jungkook is the main axis of world attention to BTS. Even to the Korean music industry as a whole in South Korea, Jungkook is known as the Golden Magne, a nickname attached to his versatile abilities. But outside Korea, especially in the United States, the name often stands alone, despite the group's label. In various reports of the global music industry, Jungkook is often referred to as the first face that the international public recognizes when they hear the word BTS. Global search data shows that in many key periods, Jungkook's name surpassed his peers in terms of individual searches, even when BTS was not actively promoting. What makes this phenomenon even more astonishing is its consistency. Typically, the popularity of K-pop artists abroad is volatile, following a cycle of comebacks, world tours, or scandals. But the graph of interest in Jungkook actually shows a different pattern. Even when BTS was in a group hiatus, Jungkook's name remained stable in Western media reports, talked about in the context of music, cultural influences, and lifestyle in the United States. Data from various streaming platforms shows that songs involving Jungkook both as BTS's lead vocalist and as a solo artist have high listener retention rates. That is, the listener does not just come out of curiosity, but persists, re-listens, and makes his voice part of their routine. This is an indicator rarely shared by non-Western artists, let alone those from the K-pop industry. Even the American media is silent. In several interviews and coverage, Jungkook is often referred to as a gateway artist, a figure who is the entrance of new listeners into the world of BTS and K-pop. Audience demographic data shows that many BTS fans in America first get to know the group through Jungkook's voice, whether through live performances, viral videos, or songs recommended by streaming algorithms. But the story doesn't stop in America. In Europe, Southeast Asia, to Latin America, a similar pattern is also seen. Jungkook's name often appears as the top keyword in articles about BTS. Even in reports on South Korea's cultural influence globally, Jungkook is often cited as a concrete example of how one individual is able to bring a positive image of his country to the world stage. Even more surprising is how Jungkook is talked about across industries. He not only appears in the context of music, but also in discussions about fashion, sports, to the mental health of the younger generation. Media monitoring data shows that whenever Jungkook talks about struggle, burnout, or self-doubt, public response, especially in America, increases sharply. This signifies that the world doesn't just see Jungkook as an idol, but as a human being whose voice is relevant to the experience of many. This phenomenon raises one big question. Why Jungkook? The answer may lie in a rare combination of talent, sincerity, and timing. As the Western world began to open up to non-English artists, Jungkook came up with a vocal quality that was easily accepted by global ears, but still carried a strong Korean identity. Data shows that songs that feature her vocals often perform better in international markets than group songs in general. In Korea itself, the impact is also felt. Whenever Jungkook gets the spotlight in America, the Korean media instantly responds with massive coverage. Domestic news data shows a spike in articles every time Jungkook's name is mentioned by major foreign media. This creates a domino effect in which global recognition strengthens the national image and vice versa. But behind all the data and numbers, there is another side that is rarely discussed. Jungkook is not only a symbol of success, but also a burden of expectations. The same data that shows his popularity also reveals the tremendous pressure he faces. His every gesture is analyzed, his every utterance is quoted, his every decision is the subject of global discussion. From Korean to American, Jungkook's name is always mentioned, and that means he's almost never completely out of the spotlight. But therein lies its strength. The data shows that Jungkook's image is relatively stable and positive in different countries, something that is difficult to maintain in the digital age. He is not known for great controversy, but rather for consistency and dedication. This makes his name continue to appear not because of the sensation, but because of the real impact. In the end, these surprising data lead to one conclusion that is difficult to refute. Jungkook is not just part of BTS. He is one of the reasons why the world keeps talking about BTS. From Korea to America, his name became a common thread connecting cultures, music, and emotions across continents. And as long as that voice continues to be heard, one thing seems certain. Jungkook's name will continue to be mentioned, not as a coincidence, but as a global phenomenon that has changed the course of K-pop history. And as the discussion went on, one thing became increasingly clear. The Jungkook phenomenon was not a momentary explosion, but rather a long current that continued to move, even as the camera's spotlight seemed to dim. Data after data shows that Jungkook's influence works most powerfully in silence, in spaces that are not always visible to the public, but that direct the world's attention. Behind the streaming numbers and search charts, there is an interesting pattern that is rarely realized. In the United States, for example, a surge of interest in Jungkook often happens not when he's performing magnificently on the big stage, but after simple moments. Snippets of rehearsal videos, short interview clips, or live footage showing him speaking honestly about fatigue and dreams. Digital interaction data shows that it's these kinds of content that are most often shared across communities, even by those who don't claim to be K-pop fans. This phenomenon shows another side of Jungkook's power. He not only attracts attention for his status as a global star, but for his ability to reach basic human emotions. In America, where the entertainment industry is filled with big figures with personas that often feel distant, Jungkook comes with a grounded image. Public sentiment data shows that perceptions of Jungkook tend to lead to words such as sincere, hardworking, and real, a combination that rarely appears in discussions about international idols. Meanwhile, in South Korea, the discourse on Jungkook is undergoing a transformation. He is no longer just talked about as the magne of BTS, but as a representation of the Korean youth generation that has managed to break through global boundaries without losing identity. Domestic media began to associate his name with broader topics, such as cultural diplomacy and the influence of Korean soft power. Coverage data showed that every time Jungkook gained recognition in America, there was a significant increase in discussion about Korea's image in the eyes of the world. Interestingly, the data also showed differences in the way Jungkook is perceived in different countries. In America, he is often seen as an artist with authentic global crossover potential. In Europe, he was praised for his musicality and vocal qualities. In Southeast Asia, Jungkook is seen as an inspirational figure who proves that hard work can overcome the limitations of the background. This difference is not a weakness, but rather a strength, as it shows the flexibility of Jungkook's image without losing the core of his personality. However, the wider the range of the name, the greater the shadow that follows it. Data on public expectations show that Jungkook is often placed in a heavy symbolic position. He is expected to be the face of BTS, the face of K-pop, even the face of a generation. His every achievement is celebrated in excess, while his every mistake, no matter how small, is potentially magnified. From Korea to America, Jungkook's name is not only referred to as a compliment, but also as a standard. This is where the dramatic side of the story emerges. The same data that glorified Jungkook also revealed tremendous pressure. Hectic schedules, global demands, and relentless spotlight create a psychological burden that is rarely seen behind smiles and stage performances. When Jungkook publicly acknowledged his fatigue, the global response surged. The data shows that the recognition sparked widespread discussion about the artist's mental health, especially in America, where the issue is gaining more and more attention. Ironically, it was precisely these fragile moments that strengthened Jungkook's bond with the global public. He is not adored for looking perfect, but for daring to show imperfections. From a data point of view, this is the factor that makes his name continue to be relevant. The world not only wants to see Jungkook sing or dance, but also hear his story as a human being who grew up under tremendous pressure.